My mother and father met in the United States. They had both immigrated to this country when they were in their late teens, 16. My father and mother both worked in factories. My mother was, I guess they were called sweatshops at the time. They were on the Lower East Side, and my mother was a seamstress, and they both worked at the shop sewing machines. We later moved to New Jersey, and my father became a cutter in a factory. It was a men's clothing factory, and later he became one of the manufacturers. But his partners were all from Poland and Russia, where he was from. He was from Russia. And so most of his life, on a daily basis, he was speaking Slavic languages. At home, when my parents didn't want us to understand what they were talking about, they would speak either Russian or Polish. But to us, they spoke Yiddish. There were 9 children in the family, and 8 of them had come to this country. The oldest one was Zalman. He did not come over first. The oldest sister came over with my grandfather's uncle, and they had to leave the country secretly because they were reacting to the pogroms that started after the failed revolution in Russia. If they were caught at the border, they would have been shot. So they didn't take a risk of coming over more than 2 at a time. Zalman stayed in Russia because he was the oldest son, and he was able to help take care of the rest of the children in the family. So he stayed there. When he finally came to this country, it might have been around 1910. He believed in a form of peaceful anarchism and believed that there were enough good people in the world so that he could appeal to their loving natures and that the world would become a better place. My other uncle, his name was Sam Deanin. He was an associate professor at the Jewish Theological Seminary there. When he came to Los Angeles, he started the United Jewish Bureau. He also developed the University of Judaism. I was invited to have an exhibit at the University of Judaism in Los Angeles. I was befriended and encouraged by Eric Ray, who was a curator at the time. He came to Las Vegas and he told me about the project at Temple Beth Shalom. He was renovating the Bima, and he wanted to know if I could do the screen for the Bima. And since he also knew that I had been experimenting with resins and fiberglass, he thought that that would be a plus, since I could do all the fabrication myself and I wouldn't have to deal with stained glass. The quotation, and I don't remember it, so I wrote down the exact quote. It was from Psalm 104. It was in Hebrew, and it read, "The Lord, my God, thou art very great. Thou art clothed with glory and majesty. Thou coverest thyself with light as with a garment. Thou stretchest out the heavens like a curtain." I never consciously focused on Jewish art. In fact, that's kind of an enigma to me, unless the symbols themselves make the work Jewish. I was much more influenced by nature, my surroundings, my environment, and also by other artists. One of the big differences in my life was meeting my husband, getting married in 1985, and he was he was able to fulfill a lot of my dreams and make things a lot better for us. His name is Robert Beliveau, and we've been married for 20 years now. And he shares my vision about a lot of things about the environment and is very, very encouraging to my art, and participates in a lot of the trips I take to foundries and fabrication plants. I kept envisioning the Star of David, the Mogen David, exploding from the traumatic impact of the genocide. And as a result, the base triangle, there are 2 main triangles in the sculpture, and the base triangle represents stability, a spirit of endurance. The other triangle has been interrupted by a step plane, which to me is the intrusion of the Holocaust. and it hovers balanced on an arm, cantilevered over the whole piece, as if it's waiting to be reunited. These are opportunities for me to study more and to learn more Hebrew and to identify with a heritage that I'm a product of. So that's very important to me.